The first, the last, I got the moves like Jack. I'm cursed with swag, ain't nothing worse than that. That hurt, that tax, they try and take like half.
Alrighty. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Roundtable Decision, and an intro video for the Knight's Tale lead. I am doing the Knight's Tale as a second part to my school project. My first part of the school project is the Roundtable Decision channel, where I have philosophy and politics videos and introductions and topic choices, along with the Discord channel. I have decided to expand my project onto Fantasy Movie Lead. Fantasy Movie Lead is where you get to bet on movies up to 8 screens with different budgets. For this purpose, this video is an intro to Fantasy Movie Lead and what Fantasy Movie Lead is and how it works. Hope you enjoy. Brief basics of Fantasy Movie Lead is this. You have $1,000 to spend each week or weekend on movies. Each movie has a different FML bucks. Your goal is to get the perfect Cineplex. The perfect Cineplex is usually 1 anchor or up to 3 anchors depending on the price, with the best bonus movie after. You have 8 screens to fill, so if you get all 8 perfectly right with the bonus bar hit with whatever movie, you can win the perfect Cineplex. I will go into more detail on what the bonus bar is and what it takes to get a perfect Cineplex. When you join Fantasy Movie Lead, you will see leads, chatter, research vault, insider, how to play, and in your account. With the lead page, you're going to see all the public and private leads like any usual fantasy football or fantasy baseball or fantasy any sport. They're going to have the leads. In the private leads, you need a password to join. Some passwords you can find in the chatter box, but normally you have to ask or just get invited to one. The chatter is a very useful tool in Fantasy Movie Lead in learning what movies to play. I recommend definitely staying on the chatter at least a couple times a day if you have time, or just whenever you have free time, like when you go to the restroom. We all know that that's what you do. Fantasy Movie Lead's chatter includes 3 different chatter boxes: the FML main chatter, the new player info, and then the off topic. The NFL main chatter is the one you're going to be absorbing the most. This chatter can get pretty complex and pretty hard to understand, and you never really understand exactly what movies to play, because FML is quite secretive of what movies they play, because it's a very competitive atmosphere, and really it takes a lot to understand what even they're talking about as a new player. The research vault, depending on who you ask, is useful to not useful at all. I mainly use the research vault for the theaters. The theaters tabs will show you how many theaters the movie is getting played in, and if it's either decreased or increased in theater count. This is huge in telling you what movie to play per the FML bucks allowed. The FML bucks is of course where you're going to be looking at the most to know which movies to play. So a brief look in the research vault can give you a comparison of what movie is closer in value to what you could play. Best performances isn't really used that often, besides if you just want to have a brief look for the heck of it. But really that's not used much. And the pick rate you would think would be useful, but turns out it's not that useful because it averages from thousands and thousands of people, and the end result doesn't tend to be too well because some people just log on and place the movies without putting much thought. Before I overwhelm you too much, it is a balance between a couple of things when picking your 8 movies. You are going to look at your fantasy bucks, how much it cost, and how many theaters it's in. If you look at those 2 things, you can determine what 8 movies to play the majority of time. It's fun as a movie picker to just play around and look at the budget on how much remains each time you place your money. A quick tip is you're not always going to use all $1,000, but you're not necessarily going to end up with a couple hundred. There is a nice balance between having $12 somewhat dollars left over if you think it's going to be the perfect Cineplex. That is the main goal, is getting the perfect Cineplex, and you get the perfect Cineplex by normally having a main anchor, sometimes more than one, and a bonus movie. You could tell the bonus movie normally by the theater count rise. If you see lower priced movie have an increase in theaters, there's a high chance that that movie could win the bonus, and you want to go with that one. There's a lot more to predicting the bonus picture, and if you go back to the lead chatter, you could sometimes see what people's thoughts are for the bonus picture and just pick one of those. Or you can just go with your gut and say, I think this one's going to do well this week. And if you win the bonus, you could hit it pretty good. The bonus picture is anywhere from 4 to 3 and occasionally all 6 or all 7 screens with one main anchor, like it was last week with Dana Fiefs winning 7 screens, with the main anchor being Jumanji. Determining the bonus picture in Fantasy Movie Lead is the toughest part of Fantasy Movie Lead. If you can get the bonus picture right, you're most likely going to win a perfect Cineplex or get a good amount of money compared to the rest of the lead. How to determine the bonus picture, you can do several different ways, but my favorite way is going on separate websites for Fantasy Movie Lead, including moviepicker.azorewebsites.net. There are a few others on Fantasy Movie Lead like Todd, who have their own websites, what I'll post in the channel information below. But moviepicker.azor.websites.net includes all the main people what played this game, including Todd, Box Office Pro, and Box Office Mojo. Both of those sites I would also recommend looking at because they give you the theater counts as well as some information you could use when determining what to pick. There are a few others what they incorporate into his selection in movies. They average out all of those and you get your list of movies. This list of movies, when looking, you can have a quick glance saying, yes, Maze Runner's at the top, so most likely that's going to be the anchor. Not always. And as you go down, you can determine which movie is most likely to get that bonus picture by looking. You can always go with the best bang for your buck. In other words, the cheapest movie, what's highest up in the list. Because even if that doesn't win the bonus bar, it'll still give you a pretty good amount of money to use, and you'll feel pretty good at the end result. How do you get the perfect Cineplex? There are a few ways. First is look through the main chatter, see if you can determine what the anchor might be and what the bonus movie might be. Second, play around with the movies, see which budget and which movie pairs seem to work the best. Third, go on movie.azor.net or any of those extra movie sites, and they'll give you their movie list, so to speak, and you can determine which movie for best value might be played, or which movies are seeming to be played more. Fourth, look at theater count. Theater count is huge when determining which movie to play. The more theaters there is in, the more people are going to see the movie. If you do those 4 things, you can get a pretty good selection of movies and maybe even the perfect Cineplex. Hope you enjoyed the intro video and hopefully it cleared up how to play Fantasy Movie Lead or just a new perspective or how to play Fantasy Movie Lead. I've made the Knight's Tale lead to help new players along on how to play and what movies to select and all of the other fun stuff that comes along with Fantasy Movie Lead. So if you are a new player, check the channel information below for my email, and you can email me and I'll give you the password, and then you can get the access to the lead and hopefully go from there and learn how to play Fantasy Movie Lead while still having fun. Thank you for listening and see you next week with a new video.